Yeah. So colleagues, welcome. We are about to start a side event on the SMR Regulators Forum. I hope you are all, the people in the room are happy to stay here with us. And in that case, please take your seat because we will be starting in 1 or 2 minutes. So I give you a minute to take your seat. Okay. So first of all, a very, very warm welcome to our side event on the SMR Regulators Forum. My name is Paula Calle Vives. I work for the Department of Nuclear Safety and Security, providing technical lead for the regulation of new technologies and also the NESI regulatory track. And I'm also part of the team that provides the secretariat to the SMR Regulators Forum. As you may know, and I hope you know, this year the SMR Regulators Forum celebrates the 10th anniversary. And through these 10 years, the forum have done a lot of very, very important work. With this event, we want to explain to you the work that the forum is doing and why this is very important. And also, we are going to have a very nice panel discussing the forum achievements and how it has contributed to the regulation of SMRs in different countries. We will then have a Q&A session at the end, so please think about your questions. That will be followed by closing remarks and a reception, and you are very welcome to join us. The reception will be in M02 outside, where you normally have the coffee break. I will also like to let you know that we have very nice leaflets and celebratory card for the forum, so you are invited to take a copy of that. That will be in the back room in this room, in the back table in this room. Before, because it's lunchtime, we also wanted to make this session a bit interactive. So we are going to be asking you questions throughout. The questions will be put in the screen for you, and you will have a QR code that you can follow to reply to these questions. So here you have the first question, and please, to your own rhythm, let us know. We are very curious to know how familiar you are with the SMR Regulators Forum. So I would like now to start the event with the opening remarks of NSNI Director Anna Bradford. So please, Anna.
Thank you, Paula. Hello, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. I'm genuinely happy to be pleased to join this event on the 10-year anniversary of the SMR Regulators Forum. This forum was really a first of a kind, regulator-to-regulator entity when it was established, and therefore it's befitting to celebrate its achievements during this first ever IAEA conference on SMRs. So to go back, more than 10 years ago is when we started this SMR Regulators Forum. In 2013, the IAEA held an INPRO dialogue forum on small modular reactors here in Vienna. Maybe some of you were there. It was a much smaller event. It was maybe 100 people, 200 people. SMRs were kind of new. I think many people were kind of skeptical about SMRs, so why go all the way to Vienna to talk about SMRs? But prior to that, I worked at the national regulator at the time. And we were thinking, we need somewhere where regulators who are being faced with SMRs, which were very new at the time, like I said, can talk to each other and share experiences, approaches. Hey, we're faced with this problem. What are you doing about this? So that they could share their experiences. And at that INPRO dialogue forum, we ran around and talked to some other like-minded regulatory bodies to say, hey, this SMR thing, people keep coming to talk to us about it. Would you like to start a group where we could get together and talk about mutual challenges? And there was some very positive response from that. So we established the forum. A few years after it was established, I was lucky enough to chair that forum. And so this personal history just makes this event very special for me. So importantly, the forum and the IAEA continue to work closely together in light of the agency's commitment to safety and security of SMRs, which also entails providing support to the member states as they prepare for SMR deployment. This support ranges from assisting with the necessary adjustments to legislative and regulatory frameworks to broader regulatory capacity building. Thus, based on the findings from the review of the applicability of IAEA safety standards to SMRs and non-water-cooled reactors, documented in Safety Report number 123, The agency will focus on the preparatory work for developing or revising, as appropriate, the safety standards to ensure that SMRs are adequately considered. These standards will be supplemented by more detailed technical documentation providing practical examples of best practices. Since 2022, within the framework of the IAEA Nuclear Harmonization and Standardization Initiative, or NESI, close to 30 regulatory bodies, in addition to industry representatives, have participated in the Regulatory Track 3 working groups. Earlier this week, the outcomes of Phase 1 of this important work, along with Phase 2 plans, received wide recognition and strong support from the member states during the NESI plenary. Crucially, since 2022, the SMR Regulators Forum has been supporting the NESI regulatory track by leading Working Group 3. This working group has been focused on developing processes for leveraging other regulatory bodies' reviews and for enabling regulatory bodies to work together during ongoing regulatory reviews. We could not have done this important work without the involvement of the SMR Regulators Forum. As we have heard this week, SMR technologies are progressing apace, with many designs currently being developed around the world. As the interest in SMRs among the IAEA member states, including embarking and expanding countries, continues to grow, so does the importance of international collaboration. Given that its main purpose is to bring together national regulatory bodies to identify and address key SMR-related regulatory challenges, the Forum has an increasingly important role to play in making such collaboration possible and beneficial. The last several years have been an exciting time for the Forum as its membership has grown further and other member states have expressed an interest in joining or becoming an observer, confirming the Forum's growing reputation and the value of its work. In December 2023, the Forum completed its Phase 3 work and published reports from its working groups. The Forum's reports continue to inform regulatory bodies worldwide on important challenges associated with SMRs and assist them in making adequate preparations for addressing those challenges. The Forum's reports are increasingly referenced by IAEA member states at various international fora as a valuable and trusted information source when they are preparing for SMRs. Moreover, the IAEA also uses the Forum's recommendations regarding the need for revising existing safety publications or developing new ones. Since 2021, the Forum has been conducting, with the support of the Secretariat, regional educational workshops on regulatory challenges in SMRs. The agency is planning to build on this work when enhancing its own capacity building activities for embarking countries by piloting a comprehensive modular educational event with a focus on regulating SMRs. Other speakers today will provide further evidence of the importance of the Forum's work and share their perspective on its main achievements this far and its plans for the future. I hope you find this event informative and useful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. And now we will continue with more opening remarks. I would like to invite Mr. Stefan Koscianek, who is the Director of the Section for Nuclear Safety and Deputy Chair for Nuclear Safety of the State Office for Nuclear Safety of the Czech Republic. He will provide opening remarks on behalf of one of the newest members of the SMR Regulators Forum. Stefan.
Thanks for the floor, Paula. It's a great honor for me to stand before you and to have this opportunity to express my thoughts on SMR Regulators Forum importance and activities. We are standing in a more demanding phase of the SMR's deployment globally. We see that there are different groups of countries in different phases of deployment of SMRs, and some of them are well developed in a manner that they are already licensing the activities with SMRs or licensing the designs themselves. Some of them are planning or preparing governmental strategies on deployment of SMRs. By the way, this is the case of the Czech Republic. And some of them are thinking or exploring possibilities and options for deployment of SMRs. As was already said, collaboration and cooperation in this area is critically important, and we can see that as a great advantage and great outcome of the SMR Regulators Forum activities. From our point of view as the member state or country involved in the activities of SMR Regulators Forum, any outcomes of the forum are very helpful for our regulatory work, for legislation work, and so on. We can see that there are many great expectations from SMR deployment. However, there are also many challenges. Most of them are discussed during this conference. For example, human resources, lack of experience, lack of information. And that's exactly, those are areas where SMR Regulators Forum should play its role and should help. There are countries which are most or more developed in this area and can provide assistance or help to other countries which are embarking on, which don't have experience with SMR so far. What could be a significant drawback in this context would be inefficient flow of information, especially between the regulatory bodies and the industry. And I'm speaking about my personal experience. Really, we should focus on making the informational exchange efficient and make the flow very, very open. And this is, in my understanding, the topic where the SMR Regulators Forum should help. We should, in our common effort, try to develop efficient ways of cooperation, try to develop methodologies for cooperation, and focus on particular technical topics that should be discussed. A lot of work was already done in the past, and now when we are facing particular steps in licensing procedures and in the siting and construction of the SMRs, we could develop our cooperation in more deeply. I would refer to the DG Gross's words from the Monday's plenary session. He mentioned important aspect. Let's make it simply in the regulation and in the approach to SMRs. I would add, let's do it simple. Yeah. So we not only have a simple regulatory framework, but also perform necessary efficient steps to deploy the SMRs and to ensure nuclear safety and security and safeguards, which is critically important for all of us, and that should be our ultimate goal. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you so much for those very inspiring opening remarks. And we saw from the slide that actually most of you are not so familiar with the SMR Regulators Forum. So now is our opportunity to tell you what the SMR Regulators Forum is doing and present you the key aspects of the work that this very important forum of people have been doing over the last 10 years. So I would like to now give the floor to the next presenter, Mr. Sean Pillai, who will give us an introductory session to the forum. And Sean is the Senior Advanced Reactor Licensing Officer for the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission with the Advanced Reactor Licensing Directorate. And he has also led the licensing working group of the SMR Forum now for 5 years. Also, this working group is one of the working groups of the NESI regulatory track. We also have a Slido question for you to think about what are the implications of the SMR new features on regulation. So please, you can also let us know your views. We will put this back again after Sean's presentation. So Sean, the floor is yours.
So thank you, everybody. It's certainly my pleasure here today to give you an overview of the SMR Regulators Forum. So first of all, what exactly is the SMR Forum? So it's an independent regulator-to-regulator forum. So it's really a safe space where regulators can get together and discuss and address key SMR regulatory concern. It is an independent forum. It's created in 2014, so happy birthday again. And it's facilitated by the IAEA. So as our objectives go, so we know there are key regulatory concerns when it comes to regulating SMRs. One of the main goals of the forum is to develop common position to some of those key issues. And also the forum also aims to really encourage and enhance nuclear safety and security for SMRs. Facilitate international cooperation among regulatory bodies performing SMR-related assessments. We're better as a group than as individuals. And really facilitate efficient, robust, and thorough regulatory decisions. So on this slide is a little bit of the organization. So you see we have a steering committee that's formed up of a member of each of the countries, which you see on the other side. So that steering committee does administrative stuff, but they also sort of oversee what are the key issues. We all discuss it. It goes to the steering committee. They help decide on the next topics. And they also give feedback to the working groups as their work is developing. So it's that steering committee is a very useful to the overall needs of the forum. It helps guide us. There's 3 working groups. The working group that I chair is Working Group 1 on licensing issues. We have the working group on design and safety analysis, and a working group that I can never say, which is the Manufacturing, Construction, Commissioning, and Operation Working Group. We call it MCCO for short. So, and I actually did manage to say it successfully, which I'm happy about. So again, I mentioned it is a regulator-to-regulator forum, but we also do have some permanent observers from industry to help give us feedback as we're developing our work. So, what are the outcomes of the forum? So in the process of identifying and addressing those key regulatory concerns, the forum has really helped develop and share amongst regulators information that we can use to enhance their individual frameworks or our own individual frameworks. We develop a common understanding of regulatory challenges, so including valuable context on how to move those challenges forward. One of the biggest things is we do publish common positions on key regulatory issues. So once we identify those issues, we try to release some key guidance and common positions on that. As we go through a lot of documentation, so we provide a lot of feedback right into the IAEA on their own guides as we notice it, publication safety standards that they have. And we also provide feedback to other organizations on their codes and standards and how SMRs might impact that. So it's important to note all of the common positions of the SMR forum and our papers are published on the IAEA website. That material is encouraged to be used in future work by regulators or industry. The IAEA, whoever would like to use it, it's there because we feel it's important and it's of good use. So let's go over a little bit of the timeline. So if you go back to 2012, which is 12 years or so ago, people were asking a lot of questions about SMRs, and they used to make me, I used to have to think about these quite often. So we'd say, like, how do we handle fuel failure if the fuel can't melt? What happens if the fuel's already in liquid form? How do we do that? How do we handle if we put a reactor in the middle of a city? Or in a remote community in the extreme north, how do we have evacuation plans? So we were looking at these questions and we weren't all aligned on how to answer them. So there's also a lot of claims being made. These reactors are inherently safe. They're walk-away safe. They shut down by themselves. They don't need operators. They're built in factories and we simply just put them where we need them, like batteries. Again, they're so safe they don't even need to be regulated. Or maybe at the most they could be regulated the same way as a nuclear substance licensee, perhaps like a hospital. And really what it came down to is no single regulator knew how to handle these claims all on their own, or even which claims were real and which were more fiction than the reality. So there was no forum where regulators could get together and figure out how to handle unique regulatory aspects of SMRs and how they were going to influence things as we move forward. So that's what the SMR Regulators Forum was created to do. It has 4 phases of work, and I'll give you a little bit of an overview of that on the next slide. But I think the other thing is that the licensing working group was tasked also with helping with doing some collaboration and leveraging information work for NHSI. So as part of that, we're able to also we still report to the SMR Regulators Forum, and we're able to draw upon other members of the forum and also the steering committee as well to help us. So here's a lot of the topics that we've done. I'm not going to go over each of them because I could probably sit here and talk for an hour on each one. But a couple of points. So we started off the first one, 2015 to 2017. I know they did a paper on emergency planning zones and emergency preparedness zones. And one of the things is that paper, a lot of the common positions in that paper have been used by other regulatory bodies and actually become part of their framework, which is that's the exact purpose of the forum. Another one that I'd point out is we had a lot of regulators coming to us and saying, look, here's our design, it's perfectly safe, everything's known. And what we realized is that there's a difference between a first-of-a-kind reactor and what they plan for maybe 10 reactors down the road when it becomes an nth-of-a-kind. So we did a report where we detailed what the expectations for a first-of-a-kind plant were, how you could actually get a first-of-a-kind plant to be licensed and eventually move it towards an nth-of-a-kind design. So those topics are a couple of examples. You can see them all there. Upcoming, so after each phase, we do publish the reports, and you can see phase 4, which is the current phase that we're doing now. We have a number of topics. Leveraging other regulatory reviews is the NHSI one that'll be published next year. Mechanistic source term, security safeguards and safety is our 3S topics. And some other ones as well. So there's more work to come, and eventually, as SMR is deployed, perhaps the SMR forum will transition to focus more on operational, licensing, and technical issues as they are deployed. Wrong button. Sorry about that. So lastly, the SMR forum and the IAEA also host regional workshops. And it's really to help promote the work of the forum and help both enabling and established regulators better understand the challenges that SMRs might bring as they think about incorporating that technology into their energy mix. The sessions last about a week, and they involve IAEA and SMR forum experts to go through the common positions that the forum has established. I'll say I find them quite valuable. It allows enabling or emerging regulators to ask lots of questions and to get exposure to what the differences might be or what the challenges might be as we roll out SMRs and how that may impact the framework that they have. So 6 sessions have been held so far. The latest one was in Brazil a couple of weeks ago. There's a couple more scheduled, and there'll be some more after that as well. So that's it for me. I did want to say that just for personally is that being part of a proactive group that really, instead of just complaining about things, they really try to identify what are the regulatory challenges that SMR is going to bring, and to sit down and be able to work those challenges through, come up with common positions, come up with ways forward. That's been very, very rewarding for me personally. And I will say that most everybody that I've worked with, or everybody really on the in the forum, is really committed to doing that job, and it's quite an honor to work with those people. So anyway, that's it for me, so thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Does it work? Okay, so thank you so much, Sean. That was a great presentation, and it gives us a bit of a flavor of the diversity of topics that the SMR Regulators Forum is considering always. We have here the answer to the questions, and we see one of the key issues that you think we currently have is the lack of operating and regulatory experience. So this is why a forum like the SMR Regulators Forum is important, so regulators can really work together to solve the uncertainties and the challenges that this lack of experience bring forward. And we also notice the new operational approaches, new design features. So I think we have quite an even distribution on some of the areas that the SMR Regulators Forum actually is working on at the moment and in the past. We've seen what the SMR Regulators Forum has done so far, and now we want to move to the next part of the session, in which we have a very, very nice panel of the SMR Regulators Forum members. In this panel, we have 4 countries that have joined the forum at different times, and also that are at a different time of considering the SMRs in their countries. So we have Canada, Finland, France, and Czech Republic. I would like to briefly introduce the speakers. And as I said, the idea of this panel is to see how these countries are using the forum to help the challenges they are facing currently. First, we will have Sarah Eaton. Sarah is the Director General of Directorate of Advanced Reactor Technologies at the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission. This directorate is responsible for licensing new nuclear reactors, pre-licensing activities including the vendor design review, and leading the SMR readiness project for the CNSC. And Canada has been a member from the very, very beginning of the SMR Forum, actually from its first meeting and its inception, and Canada was very fundamental to create the forum. We have then with us Eetu Abonen. He's a STUC project manager with responsibilities including new builds in nuclear, SMRs, and pre-licensing activities. And he previously was a project engineer for oversight of Olkiluoto 3 and Fennovoima projects. And Finland also has been a very important contributor to the forum, being with the forum since the beginning. We will then as well discuss with Karel Konsel, who is advisor of the State Office for Nuclear Safety of the Czech Republic. He has worked on the new legislation adopted in 2016, focusing on legal aspects of nuclear safety, and has been involved in the SMR-related regulatory activities, both at the national and international level. The Czech Republic, as we mentioned before, has been one of our newest members, joining the forum in 2022. And finally, we have Thomas Backenmeyer, who is a project manager for SMR at the ISN in France, and he's the chair of the newer Joint Early Review. He previously worked as a nuclear safety specialist at NEA and as a safety inspector at the ISN. And France as well has a country that has been member of the SMR Forum from the beginning as well. So you can see that we have different perspectives and many years of experience in this panel. And I'm eager to start our conversation. First of all, I would like to start with Canada. Canada has been one of the countries leading the way with SMRs. They have undertaken a lot of BDRs of very different SMR technologies. And we would like to know a bit how you have used the work of the SMR Forum to address some of the challenges that you have been encountering as part of the BDRs for SMRs.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Paula. The vendor design review has been really interesting from a Canadian perspective to gain some early insights into some of these new novel features and designs, and then also to say, okay, how would that impact how we would approach the regulatory review should we receive a license application? Forum has been really beneficial for us to be able to have that phone a friend capability. So to have that, as Sean mentioned, that safe space where we can talk about some of the technical issues that we have in front of us, some of the questions that are being posed by new vendors and new novel features. And the one that sort of speaks to when Paula gave me this, spoiler alert, we get the questions beforehand, but when Paula gave me this question to sort of talk about, the one that spoke to me the most was the work that the team had done on containment. So the design and safety analysis working group had put together a report on containment. And we used a lot of that report as we looked at our own regulatory framework, considering the challenges of how we currently define containment and how we assess containment in our regulatory framework. And so we looked at that report, looked at the analysis of that report to be able to help inform how we created a new recent public summary on our website to provide some interim guidance on containment. and then also to help us inform how we update our regulatory framework. And so it's a real concrete example of where having the right people around the room being able to discuss a technical issue and those common positions brings us something that we can tangibly take and then implement in our own regulatory framework.
Thank you so much for that. Decontainment is one of the key topics and hot topics for many regulators right now. And so, as you know, in this conference we heard so many embarking countries are thinking about SMRs right now. So what advice would you give to them, and also if you can link it in terms of using SMR Forum, but also generally?
So I think, we hear a lot of interest from embarking countries on being able to build, regulatory capacity and capability. And I think the SMR Forum is an opportunity to start building some of that capacity and capability from the common positions. And you can see when you read the reports, from the initial reports to the more recent reports, you can see the maturity in the forum as well as we move through those reports. And I think that it's a great starting point for those emerging nations or re-emerging nations to go and have a look and see what other like-minded regulators have been considering and have been thinking. The SMR Regulators Forum, launched some webinars where they're actually walking through some of their reports, which is a great way to support, visual learning and to be able to sort of see the questions and answers that move through there. And I think the IAEA's SMR School will be a very big support for emerging nations. I always have to shout out the Regulatory Cooperation Forum and the work that they do to be able to support emerging nations with regards to emerging SMR technologies. And so I think the challenge is that there's a lot of information out there. As we hear, there's a lot of claims being made by vendors. And the work of the forum, in my opinion, is work that stands on its own, that has a regulatory focus, supports regulators in being able to identify maybe where there are gaps in their framework, or maybe where there's information they don't know what they don't know. And this is a starting point for them.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And it's true that currently we are lacking international publications on some of the key topics where we don't have so much experience. So the work of the SMR Forum generally has been like the first of a kind to put some solutions out there, and it's very important, and also has been very important for the IAEA as well. Now let's move to a country that is at a different stage of considering SMRs. Finland is currently getting ready for SMRs, and we got some very nice presentations at the conference on that. Etu, if you could tell us a little bit, what are the main activities that you are going through right now, and how are you using some of the work from the SMR Forum to help you?
Yes, thank you, Paula. Yeah, so as I mentioned in my earlier presentation, knowledge building is a key thing for us, and I think that was also one of the key drivers that drove us to join the SMR Regulators Forum early on. Like we realized that we didn't have that much knowledge about SMRs in general or in detail, and that's why we thought that it would be a good idea to join the forum. And I'd say that the SMR Regulators Forum gives an excellent forum to get the information from peer regulators, and that's a key aspect. Other things that we have going on is the renewal of our regulations, and that includes, for example, this EPZ sizing based on risk-informed approach. And already in phase one of SMR Regulators Forum, there was we looked at that report on EPZ size and then used that to inform our regulation on that EPZ regulation. I'd say that also, in addition to these reports that the SMR Regulators Forum produces, the forum gives us a window to other regulators' regulation and in a more, let's say, accessible way, and the insights that we get, those also inform us to create better kind of regulation in Finland. So, yeah.
Great. And so for you, what would be the best, if you are starting to prepare for your regulation for SMRs, what would be the best way to start based on your experience? What will be the first step that the country needs to take?
Yeah, well, I'd say that's knowledge building about see what kind of SMR designs there are out there and which one of those might be the most likely one to be built in your country. That's how we approached it, that okay, is it a light water reactor or a high temperature gas cooled reactor or something like that, and then try to build the knowledge based on that technology and gather more information about that. SMRs in general, but focusing on one of the most likely technologies.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Etu. And then we'll move to a country that is a bit in a similar situation, also preparing for SMRs, but Czechia, having a look at the regulations, building the capability, the knowledge, but also that joined the SMR Forum more recently. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about your motivations to do that and what you have learned so far and what you have found useful.
Thank you, Paula, and hopefully I can, because I feel I'll be beating a dead horse here, although I'll try to provide a twist coming from a country that has recently joined the party. And at the outset, just let me say I'm delighted to be here, and I'm also delighted to see such an engaged audience. I think just the fact that we have a lunch break and there are so many of you sitting here listening to boring regulatory stuff is wonderful. Anyway, just a little bit of context, maybe for those who are considering joining the forum. Czechia is a mid-sized country. We operate large NPPs. We have some research reactors. What I'm trying to say is there is a lot of daily stuff we need to do. And maybe at the very outset, a decade ago, the SMRs were largely seen as a concept on paper and not necessarily. The potential was there, but it hasn't been fully realized. And we were not skeptical, but there were other things to do, and maybe the world was not fully committed to SMRs. Last but not least, our regulatory authority, and no regulator is a co-designer. We do not help you to design your power plant. We help you to say it's safe or not. So we engaged with vendors or designers or our utility at a later stage when we have more mature design, something to talk about. And as SMR slowly gained momentum, we have realized we needed to take them more seriously, but this obviously came a bit later than for some other colleagues. Last but not least, there was also, and still is, I would say, a lack of, and Stepan hinted at that in his opening remarks, a certain lack of more detailed information about the designs, and also an uncertainty about particular design, which one will come to your country. So in order to prepare for that, I would say we realized that that's why the forum is so essential to what we are going to do, because it offers us this opportunity to meet in a larger group of regulators, to have this venue for peer-to-peer discussion among fellow regulators, this safe space where we feel comfortable discussing regulatory-related issues. And doing this helped us to gain a deeper understanding of our own regulation. It offered some thought-provoking exchanges, identifying areas where we needed to look at them further to maybe change our legislation. Maybe Stepan can say something about that. And this platform, the forum, we never really expected, and I would say the forum does not necessarily provide answers nor any guidance how to do it, but through these discussions, I would say this is exactly why it's valuable. No one has the answers. Don't expect someone to tell you the answer. It's I would say, once again, going to the opening remarks, to DG Grossi, collaboration is the key. I would say that's the leitmotif of, at least for the regulators during this conference. And well, one thing is you can read all the reports and they are publicly available. I would highly encourage you to do that. The other thing is there's no substitute for in-depth peer-to-peer discussion. among fellow regulators. And looking ahead, I would say we are really looking forward to the phase where we move from more general discussions to more specific discussion, which Forum has agreed to do.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I want to call your attention to your answers, actually. We asked you, how can you use the forum work in your day-to-day activities? And I think what our panelists are saying is quite similar to what is coming from your answers, the shared experience and learn, benchmarking, common positions, source of information. So it's important that regulators, with the new challenges and issues we are encountering now with the new technologies, it's important that they work together and they discuss. And let me, before we move on to the next panelist, Karel, I would also like to touch with you on the educational workshops. We hosted one workshop in Czech Republic last year, and if you can share with us some, and you were a great host to that event, if you can share with us some words on your experience. Did you find it useful for you? Did you find the participants learn from it?
No, indeed, and I'll be short. Well, it was the latest workshop. It was based on the steering committee decision to disseminate the outcomes of the forum, so as to say, to promote the work of the forum. And we have the privilege to host this event, which was, to my understanding, the largest or most diverse event yet. So I think it's a testament to the fact that there is a growing interest. For us, as a relatively newcomer, it also offered us the opportunity to learn and engage through these discussions, because we are not behind all of these reports. As I said, we came late to the party. Another, maybe that's a national perspective, but it also allowed us to showcase that at a national level, that the SUJB, the regulator, is doing something, is taking this seriously, and is thinking about these issues. And then through the discussions with fellow regulators, it helped us to once again go back to our legislation, regulation, to think about potential ways how to change it, or whether there is actually a need to adapt. And I would say that's also an important aspect that the workshop helped me to, and other events helped me to realize the way how we do things in Czechia is not necessarily the only way how to do things safely. There are differences, but just because we are used to do things a certain way does not mean this is the only safe way how to do it. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So I think the natural transition to a very important topic that now we are talking more and more at this conference and as part of new initiatives, or regulatory cooperation. So now regulators are very aware of the importance of working together on the review of SMR designs. And the SMR Forum, in fact, has been very, very important for one of the working groups of the Nuclear Harmonization and Standardization Initiative that Sean led. So I would like to turn to my last panelist, Thomas. Thomas comes from a country that has been, again, very important for regulatory cooperation in Europe, France. So based on your experience and your experience with the Forum, how do you think the Forum work that we produced in the last couple of years on regulatory cooperation has contributed to the ongoing initiatives out there, and that may contribute to the future cooperation initiatives?
You're right. You're right. France is very busy regarding SMRs currently, and of course, the forum helped a lot, especially the recent initiative on the joint review was built and designed in parallel of the work conducted by the forum on behalf of NESI. So, as it was said, it's a place where we share a lot, we discuss a lot, and for sure it feeds our work to innovate, because, as I said in my presentation earlier in the week, regulators have to innovate and to adopt disruptive approach to license new objects for us, because even if France has a very long experience in nuclear, regarding SMRs and advanced reactor, we are more or less a newcomer. And we have to adapt our framework, our approaches. In that way, the forum helps a lot. For example, if I take the example of the joint review, one of the steps of the work will be to address the divergences when we assess a design. And I'm very happy that the licensing working group on behalf of NESI will conduct an activity on that, on how to address divergences. So yes, I think the main asset of the forum is to be a forum, basically, it is in the title, a place to share, to feed the thoughts, to create, to innovate new approaches.
Thank you so much for that. And I think now we are almost getting to the time of the Q&A. So we will be looking forward to your questions. And while you are thinking your questions, I want to ask one more question to the panelists. And here you can all reply, or maybe a couple of you can reply. So we know what the forum has done so far and why we have done that. So now what is next? How do you see the future in the next 10 years? So maybe, Thomas, you can take it, start, and maybe Sarah will want to also add something. Or the opposite. Sarah can start.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The coming years, of course, we still have a lot of experience to share because most of the regulators were just starting to engage with the vendors. So the experience from this dialogue with the vendors will, of course, feed the works under the forum. I hope we will be able to host more members under the forum and to establish maybe design-specific working groups to assess, because the experience from the New Art Joint Review highlighted the value of working on a specific design, and it is where you identify the deep divergences in leading to a difference in designs. And of course, to also identify new challenges, as the forums did with the containments. Sorry, I quote this example again. But to address innovative approaches, SMR specific, let's say.
Excellent.
So I think the next 10 years will be as exciting as the last 10 years have been for the forum, particularly when we think about, there's a real possibility that we'll move from discussion of SMRs to actually seeing SMRs being constructed. And so I see the forum as a place to be able to share lessons learned from as we move through that to that construction and then moving into that operation. Like Tomas, I really think that we'll move away from generic into specific. To be able to support, other countries that are going to leverage designs that have been previously approved in other countries. And so I think you'll see a period of time where there'll be a lot of movement and maybe more focus groups for those who are engaged in that topic. But I think it will continue to be a great venue to be able to share information, particularly as we look at the deployment model changing. And so we know the first reactors SMRs will likely come in under a relatively similar operation model as large. But once you get that fleet approach and you're able to get the efficiencies in the modularity, you will see a change in deployment models, and that will require, again, some more safe conversations around the table with regulatory bodies.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sarah. Any other panelists would like to add to this? We are going into the same direction. And we also asked the question to you. So thank you so much for being so proactive and giving us your answers. So we will keep it there to see what comes from it. And now, please, the floor is open for questions. We are looking forward to your questions. Yes.
Thank you very much for this presentation. Nikolaus Müllner from Institute of Safety and Risk Research, Austria. I have a question on standardization and harmonization. We have heard a lot about standardization and harmonization in the conference, and that it's a great hope to facilitate SMRs. My question to you is, what do you think, how far could this go? Will we come to a point where SMR design license in Czech Republic can be built in France, for example, or vice versa? So what is your opinion? What's the end point of the standardization, harmonization?
Thank you so much. Who wants to start? Carol.
Maybe just to offer a very generic response to give others time to think. in my view, it depends how far into the future you look. And I would also say if there is a will, we can do that. In the short term, I don't think we will shortly get that far. And I also don't think it's necessary to do that. But I would say at the end point, one day, if this is success, yes, sure. Because, well, take, for example, non-nuclear related things. We are already doing that. So in principle, I don't really see something that would really prevent us from doing it in the long term, with all the caveats I should add here in this forum. Yes.
Thank you, Carol.
Yeah, yes, I have a good question. I completely agree with Carol that it depends on how far you're looking. But I'd say that I'd agree with that, Carol, that it is possible if there's the political will for it. For example, if the European Union this is just an example, if the European Union said that, okay, we have to have a common licensing approach in the whole European Union, if the politicians say that, then it's for the regulatory bodies to implement that. But regulators can't do that themselves. They have to have a political mandate to do that. Yes, they can't do it themselves. Otherwise, I think that looking like in the shorter term, I'd argue that there would be more like this kind of like the joint early review of NUVAD, this kind of reviews.
Anybody else would want to go? Thomas.
Yes, just to complete, I fully agree with my colleagues, but I would like also to highlight that currently, and I speak having the experience of the joint review, the regulatory frameworks in Europe are more or less already harmonized. We all have goal-oriented frameworks complying with WNRA, with NSREG, with IAEA standards. However, when it comes to the assessment, to the design, here you find some divergences in the conclusion. So it's more in the interpretation, in the implementation of the frameworks. So it's a long journey to harmonize. So it's not really compatible with the very ambitious schedule provided by the vendors during this week. It's a long journey, not necessary, and not sufficient, because sometimes you may have different interpretation of the same requirements.
Thank you. So I think we have one more question. So I think it was quite a couple of questions. Perfect. So let's move there, and then we will go that way.
My question is regarding the vision for the future of this forum. For instance, you are now play a central role in technology of SMRs. I'll establish a parallel with the aviation industry, where if you have a problem with one kind of an aircraft, you may recommend to stop the operation of this aircraft. You may recommend, for instance, a recall. Do you think in the future you may have this vision and this kind of ambition to play a central role in the technology of the successful SMRs?
Sarah.
So I think that the analogies to the aviation industry are interesting, and it's one that we often hear people pointing towards. And I think the example you're talking about, to how you would share lessons learned or potentially immediate safety requirements that are required. I would be hesitant to put that onto a forum that has only a select number of members. I think that the IAEA has a very robust process to be able to share safety lessons learned. We know that the industry has robust ways to share lessons learned when they're related to safety. And as you said, to issue a, basically, stop work or make this modification, I would want that to be available to all member states and all member states to be able to participate. But I do think there is in that same sort of appreciation of lessons learned, I think that is where this forum will continue to bring value over the next 10 years, to be able to share the outputs of, joint collaboration, bilateral, multilateral collaboration, to be able to share the outputs of that with other members, to be able to implement some of the products that have been produced for the NHSI. I think that's where this forum will be able to provide that support to those people who have deployed those reactors, or those who are still, building their frameworks and the milestone approach to be able to go to a first plant. So,
excellent. Thank you very much. Move there.
Good afternoon, Petr Vacha, UJBSS, Czech Republic. I've got maybe a little bit tricky question to you. Imagine we are 20 years in the future. SMRs and microreactors are a huge success. Everybody wants one, every major city, every large industrial complex. And you, as the regulator, will face dozens of site and construction permit applications concurrently at the same time. How do you prepare for this scenario, and what do you think is the approach that can be successful to this, from your point of view?
Etu?
Maybe I'll start. Interesting question. I'd say that in some sense we already see this kind of a scenario, not maybe necessarily like about construction licenses or construction permits, but there are already many vendors and potential licensee organizations coming to us and asking from us that, okay, I want to have an SMR, what do I do, basically? And I view that more as a resourcing issue, that we just need to have enough resources for that. Moving then more towards that kind of a construction licensing phase, in that sense, if in your scenario, I would imagine that most of the plants would be already nth of a kind, so we wouldn't have to review them as thoroughly as first of a kind. So that would also solve the resource issue.
Czechia wants to reply?
Well, I have a slightly different vision as well. In parallel, I can see huge development in 20 years, huge development of AI and other very interesting tools for performing assessment, analysis, and so on. So I hope that in that case, at that time, we would be able to facilitate and manage all those requests from the public, from the vendors, because we will have much more developed tools how to deal with that, hopefully.
Maybe just to second the point, we are already seeing it now with many vendors and designs, not necessarily coming to Czechia, but to other fellow regulators, and we see that the paradigm has at least slightly shifted. And here I would just say it has always been the case. There was always this discussion. We have limited resources, and that's why we have and we are similar for NPPs in operation. We have, as a regulatory authority, we have to think about where we put our resources, and that's why we have developed graded approach, risk-oriented approach, and so on and so forth. So looking ahead, I don't know how the future will look like, but I'm certain, well, there might be a discussion whether the resources are sufficient given the tools we have at the moment, but we will do the same. We will look at the risks and will adjust our processes accordingly to ensure it is safe enough.
Thank you for that. Opportunity for more questions. I think we had one more question over there, or maybe not? Or here? Okay.
Yes, since the devil is in the detail, have you considered, to get closer to other industries like aviation, where they have to overcome also these kind of difficulties, in terms of standardization? Because I had a bad experience of slight differences between Finnish and French regulation about escape routes that could lead to very significant differences in design. So would you consider to get closer to industries where they had really to overcome for a large series of facilities?
Who would like to start? Thomas?
Yes. Yes, of course. I think in the new framework with SMRs, the dialogue with the vendors will be key because we need to engage with the vendor to know where the divergences of regulation leads to differences. And I think the exit route is a very good example where I don't think harmonization could be considered because I think it's due to labor law. It's not due to the safety regulation. It's coming from the labor law. So a nuclear power plant is not only submitted to safety regulation, it's submitted to a lot of regulation, including labor law, public health, law, environmental code. So I don't think we could align the view, the regulation. However, we should engage with the vendor because the vendor is able to tell us, oh, in Finland you need 2 exit routes, while in France you need only 1. What can we do? But we need to anticipate this discussion. So it's early discussion with the vendor and all the stakeholders.
Excellent. More questions here?
Way back.
Okay, Sean will complement a little bit.
I just wanted to add one additional point. It's kind of common to everything. Certainly, there's always likely going to be regulatory differences between countries. Hopefully that gets smaller and smaller as we move forward. One of the IAEA's fundamental safety principles is that each nation is ultimately responsible for its own nuclear decisions. One of the things that I'd also say is that when technical people get together, they can generally agree on what's safe and what isn't. I think having a flexible regulatory framework is very advantageous to arriving at those common decisions. The other thing I think is the availability of information. Right now, there's only so many vendors. They have their proprietary information. Being able to share that information is a challenge. I think as we move forward, not only harmonizing or getting our regulations closer to each other helps, but also having that information available and having people come to the table willing to share, I think will go a long way towards ensuring greater SMR portability between countries as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Sean. A question at the back. Okay, so we have time probably for 2 more questions. Maybe 3 more questions. The question at the back, please.
Thank you. Nikoleta Morelova from Slovak Nuclear Regulatory Authority. My question is more at the panelists from Czech Republic, Finland, and France. So you have done the joint review of the French New World design, but then this design has changed. So my question is, has this experience been shared at the forum level, and what are the lessons learned and maybe the challenges of such process when the design is changed mid-review? Thank you.
Who wants to start?
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't yet been, like, the design change was in June or July, and we haven't had a SMR Regulators Forum meeting after that, so it hasn't been shared on a forum level. But yeah, having a design change during like mid-review, obviously you have to continue with the, like, you can't, I mean, it was so huge of a design change that it can't be taken into account in the review itself. Maybe Thomas has something to add.
Yes. Actually, the review itself is almost completed by the regulators. So we worked on the basic design from the first review, and our conclusions will be taken into account for the new design. So it's a discussion to engage with New World, but of course it's a challenge. But I mean, it was the right time to do it at the basic design. Later, it would have been too challenging to customize the design for each country, so it's the right time to do it. So I think it's a good example where you can also take some conclusions at the right time of the project.
We have 2 more questions. Time for 2 more questions, please.
Thanks a lot. I am Christophe Serre from the Permanent Mission of France. I would like to thank all of you for organizing this session. During this conference, we are able to attend very interesting sessions about security by design, especially the interfaces, 2S or 3S. My impression, maybe I am wrong, is that the work of the SMR regulatory forum is mainly focused on safety. Do you intend to address also the security and in particular the interfaces? Thanks.
Who would like to reply, and if not, I can reply. Okay, so thanks a lot for the question and for mentioning this. The forum has been focusing on safety in the initial phases, but now the forum is also working on 3S, safety, security, and safeguards. And actually, again, I think the work of the forum has been quite instrumental for the IAEA to follow a little bit what the forum is saying. And they are continuing the work in this phase as well.
Maybe just to add here that I view that security is already part of the forum's work. Like we have usually we in the DSA working group we have a security expert there also participating in the meetings if there are security minded topic, for example the 3S topic.
Thank you so much. One last question. Who will be the lucky person who asked the last question?
Yeah, Gianluigi Fiorini from Nuclear 21. I heard a sort of skepticism concerning the harmonization, at least for the short and medium term. I am actually working on nuclear for maritime application, and obviously for us the harmonization will be an ideal solution. Do you consider the fact that the public opinion is extremely sensitive to this subject? And I feel that public opinion, normal, let me say, public opinion will have difficulties to understand that there is no harmonization between the different regulators. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I'm happy to start, and then one of my panelists will come in and support. I think that the marine application is one that if they're able to get the sea legs to go, maybe that's the pun I'll use, to be able to move forward, it's going to force the political will for greater harmonization. But with that comes a requirement for a standardized design. And so once you have a standardized design where the design is not iterating, where you have those pieces, I think from that perspective, you have demonstrated safety performance. I think from that perspective, the harmonization piece from, along with political will be able to support that harmonization and acceptance and leveraging of previously conducted reviews. And so I don't think we're as far away. I think we have some examples of being able to leverage previously accepted reviews. I think we'll see more examples of that should SMR deployment proceed at the pace that industry is expecting it to do so. But I also think that for that public opinion perspective, they will want to see that demonstrated safety case from that design. They'll want to see a standardized design to be able to make that work. So,
thank you so much, Sarah. Okay, please.
Maybe one more remark. Even in case that we will be successful, and I hope we will be successful to some extent, at least with harmonization and standardization, it should not, let's say, anyhow ignore or diminish the role of regulator as the main decision maker and the main person or subject or entity responsible for public interest. And moreover, we should not ignore the role of the public and public involvement in any procedures or in general in deployment of SMRs. So the voice of the public must be heard in this context.
Excellent, and I really like that we finished with such a very important topic. We will now proceed to the final part of the event, but I want to really thank you for all your feedback through Slido. Thank you for your feedback on what the forum needs to do next. This is something that the forum will be considering in the next year, so it's very interesting to see what you said. And as well here, how the forum can reach out more, because we feel that the products that are coming out are so important. They are very helpful for embarking countries as well, and sometimes we feel they don't manage to get so far out there. So your suggestions are really important for us, so thank you for that as well. Before we finalize the event, we wanted to conclude with some remarks from one of the people that have been chairing the SMR forum. They cannot be with us today, but they wanted to send us a video. So we will put on display the closing remarks from the SMR Regulators Forum Vice Chair. And then after that, we will conclude the event. And of course, I will, while we set up the video.
I am Matthew Bamber, Principal Inspector at the Office for Nuclear Regulation in the UK. I've been a nuclear safety inspector for 12 years, and for the last 3 years, I've also been Vice Chairperson of the SMR Regulators Forum. It is my pleasure to address you this afternoon in my capacity as the outgoing SMR Regulators Forum Vice Chairperson, and I regret not being able to join you in person to mark the Forum's 10th anniversary. While the interest in advanced nuclear technologies, including SMRs, is constantly growing, it is also relatively recent. The Forum, however, has already been working for a decade, developing common positions based on identification and discussion of key safety issues that may challenge regulatory views associated with SMRs, including, if possible, approaches for their resolution. For the last several years, key messages related to the Forum and its activities have been those of continued progress and growth. Thus, during this period, the Forum's membership has grown to 12 members, and other IAEA member states have expressed an interest in joining. In December 2023, the Forum completed its Phase 3 work and published its reports developed by its Design and Safety Analysis Working Group and its Manufacturing, Construction, Commissioning and Operation Working Group. Since its creation, the SMR Regulators Forum Working Groups have been at the forefront of addressing SMR-related regulatory issues and have published reports on a wide range of topics, from emergency planning zones to integration of safety, security and safeguards into SMR designs, and the implications of long lead procurement for SMRs, amongst others. The SMR Regulators Forum outputs have been making a tangible difference, as these reports are informing many regulatory bodies worldwide, as well as the IAEA. In 2024, the Forum began Phase 4 of its work. The Design Safety Analysis Working Group will find common positions on mechanistically derived source terms and continue its work on the integration of safety, security and safeguards into SMR design and operational cases. The Manufacturing, Construction, Commissioning and Operation Working Group will find common positions on manufacturing and deployment in the absence of a licensee, construction oversight and organisational capability of a new licensee with no prior nuclear experience. Since 2021, the SMR Regulators Forum has also provided support to more than 50 embarking countries and those expanding their nuclear programmes through the implementation of regional educational workshops, along with a recent series of webinars on its Phase 3 outputs. The latest SMR Regulators Forum educational workshop, which took place this month in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, has benefited from the use of thoroughly revised and updated materials, while the previous one, held in December 2023 in Czechia, was the largest to date, with almost 40 participants from 17 countries. The main objective of these workshops is capacity building, as they aim to share the challenges associated with the regulation of SMRs and approaches to overcoming those challenges, including possible changes to regulatory requirements and practices based on the common positions developed by the Forum. These workshops also serve an opportunity to stimulate the exchange of information and experience between participants and lecturers from the Forum and from the IAEA, and even more importantly, among the participants themselves. The Forum is now working with the IAEA to develop a comprehensive training programme for regulatory bodies. So I can definitely confirm that the SMR Regulators Forum celebrates its 10th anniversary with the satisfaction of seeing the fulfilment of its objectives and the renewed motivation to further contribute to nuclear safety worldwide. The SMR Regulators Forum starts next decade with a strong vision of regulatory cooperation and support in the face of a growing number of global SMR projects. It has been a pleasure working for the Forum and the SMR Regulators Forum Secretariat over the past 3 years, and I am certain that the Forum will continue to grow both in size and importance over the coming years as SMRs become a reality. I will be looking forward to another 10 years of the Forum, serving as a unique international collaborative platform for the experienced regulatory bodies to work together for their own benefit and that of all regulatory bodies facing SMR-related regulatory challenges. I hope you have found this event informative and I would like to use this opportunity to encourage you to visit the forum's official IAEA webpage to find out more and access all of its reports and webinar materials, as well as subscribing to the newsletter. And finally, on behalf of the SMR Regulators Forum leadership, I would like to thank you for your interest in the forum and its activities and for joining us today. Thank you.
And a big thanks to you for engaging with us today, for your questions and your suggestions and openness in this event. I would like to thank our great presenters, panelists that have been very honest and insightful in what they have shared with us. And also, I would like, of course, to thank our director, Anna Brafa, to be here, and very special thanks to Isaias and Bolja, because they've been really working very hard to make this event so smooth, so thank you so much. Please don't forget to get the leaflet of the forum, the card with all the publications that we have for you. This is at the table at the back of this room, and you are very welcome to join us for a reception now. We will have the reception in MO2 coffee space, so I think this is where normally you have all the coffees. Join us and we can continue the conversation. So thank you so much.
Sleeping on a O sol, vê se não esquece e me ilumina. Preciso de você aqui. O sol, vê se enriquece a minha melanina. Só você me faz sorrir. E quando você vem, seja. Vê se não esquece e me ilumina. Preciso de você aqui. O sol, vê se enriquece a minha melanina. Só você me faz sorrir. E quando você vem, tudo fica bem mais tranquilo. Oh, tranquilo. Que assim seja, amém. O seu brilho é meu abrigo, meu abrigo. Vai, vai, vai. Vem, aquece minha alma e mantenha minha calma. Não esquece que eu existo e me faz ficar tranquilo. Vem, aquece minha alma e mantenha minha calma. Não esquece que eu existo e me faz ficar tranquilo. Toda vez que você sai, o mundo se distrai. Quem fica, ficou. Quem foi, vai, vai. Toda vez que você sai, o mundo se distrai. Quem fica, ficou. Quem foi, vai, vai, vai. Vai, vai, vai. No one knows what it's like to be the bad man, to be the sad man behind blue eyes. And no one knows what it's like to be hated, to be faded, to tell the only lies. But my dreams, they are as empty as my conscience seems to be. I have hours only lonely. My love is vengeance that's never free. No one knows what it's like to feel these feelings I get do. I'm loving you. No one beats back as hard on their anger. None of my pain can show through. But my dreams, they are as empty as my conscience seems to be. I have hours only lonely.
Hello, hello. You can go ahead. It's okay. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it's always not only unusual but a little bit challenging when you have the first meeting of the afternoon, especially when you are already on Thursday. after a very good meal we had, all of us. I think that is not always as so easy. But our wish will be really to ensure that you will be following and even we'll be able to give you the important message we would like to transmit. My name is Vincent Konjok. I am from Cameroon. And it's really my great pleasure to welcome you all, as well as our presenters that are already here, for this session that is titled Assessment and Feasibility Study. It is the session 14.2, which I have the privilege to co-sharing alongside with my esteemed colleague, Mrs. Fanny Tonos-Paniagua from the IAEA. But before I proceed, I would like to give you the floor, Fanny, in order really to introduce yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Vincent, and good afternoon, everyone. It is a great pleasure to be here. My name is Fanny Tonos-Paniagua, and I work for the IAEA's Nuclear Infrastructure Development Section, where I coordinate the INIR program, the Integrated Nuclear Infrastructure Review Service program. It is my pleasure to welcome you all, and I join Vincent in thanking you for being here and in welcoming also our distinguished presenters. Back to you, Vincent.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Fanny. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, this session is really pivotal with regard to the broader discussion around the deployment of SMR, an area of growing global interest and potentials. Our focus today will be centered around 4 key areas on SMR deployment. These include the importance of comprehensive analysis of SMR implementation strategy, means of conducting robust feasibility study of SMR deployment, the role of support services from international partners for successful deployment, as well as, and the last and not the least, the type of legislative action that may impact positively SMR development. We are honored and really thankful to have 4 distinguished speakers who will be presenting all those critical topics. We are also deeply appreciative of the IAEA conference team for their tireless efforts in facilitating this session and bringing together such an impressive area of experts. Each presentation will have 15 minutes, and the question and answer session will cover all the 4 presentations at once. In this international forum, designed to take stock of progress and explore opportunities and challenges in the safe and secure deployment of SMR, the theme of assessment, that is our theme today, or in this session, feasibility and deployment, are really on the forefront of today's discussion. The diverse representation of state and stakeholder data in this conference during all this week really shows the importance of attaining this objective. It is therefore now my great pleasure to introduce the first speaker, Dr. Martin Constantin from Romania, who will present on analysis and of SMR implementation in Romanian energy system. Dr. Constantin is a brilliant physicist, deputy of the Alfred Management Group in the Institute for Nuclear Research of Romania, a group responsible for experimental infrastructure development. Dr. Constantin, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vincent. Good afternoon, everybody. Looking globally to the SMR implementation status, what we can see at the moment, we have only few reactors, SMR reactors in operation. We have some project, very positive element, and we have an amazing number of conceptual design waiting to be transformed from our dreams into reality. Of course, there are a lot of barriers acting against the implementation. And I don't want to answer to the question why this current modest level of implementation. I think most of you reflected to this question and have different answers from different perspectives because the answer is contextual. I want to be more positive and to answer the questions what factors may accelerate this implementation. And I want to exemplify with the Romanian case. What are the factors in Romania accelerating SMR implementation? Romania is connected in the nuclear technology with CANDU technology, with natural uranium and heavy water. We developed the local nuclear industry in a good way, and in the last 2 decades, due to the decarbonization process, we have some transformation, an amazing increasing of intermittent renewable, producing impact in the prices and impact in the stability. In this context, SMRs became an attractive possibility to balance the system. And currently, Romania has 2 lines of SMR in implementation. The first is Integral PWR Doicești project, that means new scale type reactor, 6 modules, 77 electric megawatts, with a tentative to be operational in 2030. The second line is Advanced SMR. Advanced SMR connected with pure lead fast reactor technology. Romania decided 14 years ago to host the Alfred demonstrator of this technology. This demonstrator is an European effort, and Alfred will be a key step in development of SMR LFR. What is the current status and what is the tentative roadmap? For the first project for Integral PWR, we are in front-end engineering design phase 2. In the second project, in LFR SMR, we are in pre-licensing process. Now we are building experimental infrastructure, 6 very large infrastructure, practically the largest in the world. At the moment, we finished Athena facility, that means 1,000 tons of pure lead to test all the thermal hydraulic processes and to test the equipment. Going further and coming back to the main question of my presentation, what kind of factors may accelerate the decision to implement SMRs? And I illustrated on this slide some external factors and internal factors. And in the limit of the slot of time that I have for this presentation, I will approach some of them. The most important for me is the internal factor consisting in public attitude and public participation in the decision-making process. Fortunately, in Romania, we have a good acceptance for nuclear and for SMR. There is no significant opposition at the political level and general public level. Moreover, we try to prepare very well the participation of all stakeholders in the decision-making process. In case of LFR SMR, we started this process for the first second we discussing about the intention to build Alfred in Romania. Moreover, in connection with the reference site, we set up a local group for dialogue that is an interface between the developer and the local community to discuss all possible concern about the project and to discuss the progress of the project. The second factor that is very important is the political determination. In both of projects, we are dealing with financial support. We have state guarantee for integral PWR SMR funding, and we have public funds for LFR SMR. But both projects are very well included in the energy strategic documents. at national level, at regional level, and we have a high political support from presidency, from government, from regional and local level. The third element is the business development. I want to discuss here about Deutsches project, that means integral PWR. We have a reference site. This reference site is the site of a coal plant that was phased out. What are the main actors there? We have the municipality because in this case we have a brownfield. We have a quite abandoned industrial site with a lot of problem in terms of environmental remediation and a lot of cost. We have Nuclear Electrica on the other side, that is the owner of NPP in Romania, very interested in the nuclear development. And we have another company, Power and Gas, that is the owner of the land, very interested in use this land and to go further for the environmental remediation. These three partners formed a business model, very interesting, because we have on this site, we have photovoltaics introduced by Nova Power and Gas, we have nuclear, and we have the interest of the municipality to solve a long problem and difficult problem. In case of LFR SMR, we have a synergy between the interest of Romanian research organization and the national nuclear industry to be prepared for the future supply chain. Going further, we have some elements from the energy market. Romania decided to close all coal capacity. That was very flexible. We have some problem with the cost integration and with the stability of the system. We have an insufficient development of the storage capacity. In this situation, SMR can contribute to a better flexibility. It is not perfect, but it is better than of large reactor. We have some elements derived from sustainability, and the projects are very well presented in National Energy and Climate Plan. It is very important that SMRs can easily replace the coal plants and use the same site, together with the existing infrastructure of the closed coal plants. And also, this SMR can be placed nearby the urban agglomeration and to be used for other purpose, for cogeneration. What is in terms of the technical expertise and workforce? In Romania, we were connected with CANDU technology, but we succeed in the last decade to introduce in university courses related to LFR technology. And now we are introducing the courses related to SMR, integral PWR technology. Moreover, based on the partnership with United States, a full-scale simulator was installed in Polytechnic University of Bucharest. It is fully functional and entered in the curricula from this year. What about the regulatory framework? Fortunately, Romanian regulatory framework is inspired from the North American, Canadian, and United States regulatory framework. Therefore, these similarities will smooth very well the process, and the Romanian regulators is practically convinced this process will not be a very long one. In terms of the infrastructure, this idea to replace the old coal plants with SMR will produce an important effect in terms of using the existing infrastructure and the same site. What about the economics? Because there is an important effort for these two projects. For integral PWR SMR, we borrow the money from international banks from United States. And what is the credibility we can do both projects? The perspective is very good in terms of the GDP because Romania progressed very well in the last 3 decades. And the perspective, the transformation of the economy support very well this process. What about the external factors? The most important and most influential was the geopolitical landscape connected with the conflicts around energy and in Black Sea region. These determine the political level to have a firm decision to go for a better independence in terms of energy. In terms of regional trends, that means European Union framework, we have engagement to decarbonize energy sector and this decision to close all the coal plants. In terms of global market condition, we expected a better interconnectivity, but at the same time, the competitiveness of the national economy is highly influenced by the energy price, largely impacted by the day-ahead and spot market contracts. Today, we have a decreasing of long-term contracts, and this impacted a lot the price of energy in Romania. We have another factor, licensing of the design at origin country. If NuScale Power will succeed finally to have all the approval from the NRC, the process in Romania will be quite fast. Another factor is the financial support. We cannot do this project without money. We have financial arrangement already signed, and $4 billion are prepared by the agreement with US Exim Bank and US International Development Finance for the first project. For the second project, for LFR SMR, we have arrangement at European level to fund from public money, but the process is quite longer. The last factor is international collaboration. This is a key component for LFR SMR, taking into consideration the novelty of this design and the complexity of the licensing. And in integral PWR case, the IAEA contribution in assessing the site selection that was already done for Deutsche site offered higher confidence in the process. Two conclusions. In case of integral PWR case, we have a national determination to implement the first NPP based on SMR in Romania, with clear influences of the external factors as geopolitics, funding arrangement, EU climate policy, and progress of the licensing in the origin country, and a group of internal factors, decision for coal phase-out, energy market challenges, business arrangement, and public acceptance. For LFR SMR case, we have this national effort in developing the LFR technology and the determination of the country to host the demonstrator on the nuclear platform from UOVN. The process is a medium-term one and currently focused on the building of the large experimental facility in support of the licensing process. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Constantine, for that excellent presentation and for sharing the Romanian perspective on identifying the factors that may have an impact on accelerated deployment of SMRs, assessing those factors, and finding ways to address any associated challenges. Thank you very much. After that national perspective, let's turn our attention now to an international perspective. And it is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Hyo-Jim Kim, who will present about the activities of the World Association of Nuclear Operators and its members in connection with SMR deployment. Mr. Kim is Deputy Director for New Nuclear at WANO. Mr. Kim, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hyojin Kim. I work for World Association of Nuclear Operators London office as a Deputy Director responsible for supporting new nuclear around the world. Today, my presentation is to firstly introduce you about WANO, World Association of Nuclear Operators, and then what kind of supports that we provide to our new nuclear units. And then I will give you an examples of 3 different cases of deployment of small modular reactors in the last 10 years. And then I will conclude with the key takeaways. So, World Association of Nuclear Operators, our mission is to maximize the safety and reliability of a nuclear power plant worldwide to assess and benchmark and improve performance through the mutual support and exchange of information and emulation of best practices. So, our vision is to become the world leadership in nuclear safety. So at the moment we have around 125 members joining WANO, and our members operating 460 nuclear power plants around the world in commercial nuclear power plant industry. And our members also constructing 60 units at the moment. And also there are 5 members just joined WANO as a new entrants who plan to build additional dozens of new nuclear units in the next decade. So our services to new nuclear units, as you can see before, our main focus is on the units in operation, 460. And we also recognize that we need to support our new units under construction, especially the 60 units under construction, and also those new entrants to ensure that they have a strong nuclear safety culture in place, and we have a clear operating model established as a part of a roadmap to operational readiness. So we take the IAEA approach of the phase 1, 2, 3, and our lessons learned, one of the lessons learned from units is that we need to engage in very early stage of the project so that our new entrants will have a strong starting points for a successful and timely deployment of new units. So in the project phase-wise, even before starting a project, we have a member who joined WANO, which is Turkish nuclear energy company, who plans to build 8 new large nuclear power plants as well as small modular reactors. And we also have Duane Nuclear Energy Company from Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, who plans to build 2 nuclear power plants as well as small modular reactors. So the engagement of a new entrants or embarking countries in WANO activities is a key to the, I would say, success of the timely deployment of small modular reactors. So according to the phases, we try to deliver different types of topics to our new entrants, and especially for the very early stage, we found the nuclear safety culture and significant operating experience reports, recommendation, implementation is probably one of the most important topics for the early the starters. And we also recognize that organizational effectiveness, which will build very strong leadership in nuclear safety, and capacity building and training is also an important piece. And as I industry, we worked with a new unit assistance industry working group to develop this roadmap to operational readiness. This is more than 400 pages of the document, which will guide a new project, new entrance, new units to use as reference how to build the operating model and how to build the resources, how to build the plant, and how to build all the processes, programs, and procedures. So now I'm going to introduce two small modular reactor projects that our members successfully completed in the recent years. So first one is China Huaneng Energy Group. That's the high temperature reactor, gas-cooled reactor, pebble bed module, which actually started construction December 2012 and achieved the first criticality in August 2021 and started commercial operation December 23. So as you can see, this is the first of a kind commercialized a small modular reactor, which took almost 9 years from the construction to the commercial operation. I think as the new technology reactors have as one of their the strengths is a zero core damage frequency or zero large release frequency. But one of the lessons learned shared by the CEO of the company during one of PGM 3 weeks ago in Abu Dhabi was that probably this inherent safety could have affected their compliance or overconfidence in during the startup phase. So they were not really effective in addressing various equipment issues they have to address during this commissioning and startup phase. However, I would also highlight that there have been lots of interactions between this small modular reactor and WANO, and for the last 10 years there have been at least 12 WANO support missions, including safety culture, nuclear safety culture, and crew performance observations at the station. And the next example is the floating nuclear power plant in Pevek, the academic Lomonosov. The WANO had a lot of interactions with this the operator. So we had two pre-startup peer reviews on the first stage in Murmansk, where they have just completed the construction of the barge. And then the second pre-startup peer review was conducted in Pevek when the barge was moved to the final location. And about 2 years ago, we had a main operating plant peer reviews, and that supported the operator operating the plant with the highest level of safety and reliability. And the last example is from the TÜNAŞ, Turkey Nuclear Energy Company. They joined WANO about 5 years ago, and the interactions was like delivering all those fundamental topics that I mentioned earlier. So 2023, we delivered roadmap to operational readiness. And early this year, we delivered a new unit assistance mission, implementation of SOER recommendation. This significant operating experience reports. So far, we have 18 reports containing altogether 250 recommendations. And these are our industry lessons learned over the last 35 years. And we strongly believe these recommendations will help improving safety and reliability of small modular reactors. Right, so to summarize, WANO is a nuclear community of commercial nuclear power plants, owners and operators. As we said, if we can translate our mission statement to maximize the safety and reliability of nuclear power plants, is actually telling the maximize protection of your investment and assets and maximize the output of your investment. So that's how we work together as WANO members. And we are willing to share welcome future SMR operators and share our operating experience accumulated over the last 35 years. And this operating experience is coming from in the stage of planning, construction, commissioning, startup, and operation of different technologies and different sizes of nuclear power plants. So our member, the smallest one is Filipino, the Rosa Energarum, 11 megawatt electric, and the largest one is Taishan and Olkiluoto, 1700 megawatts. And different types, we have various types of reactors, pressurized heavy water reactors, light water reactors, and Beloyarsk faster breeder reactors in operation. And of course, these pebble bed reactors and floating reactors. So WANO and its members work together to ensure safe, reliable, and successful, timely deployment of new nuclear units. And we all strive for excellence in nuclear safety. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kim. I think that all of us, we really appreciate to understand exactly what WANO, that is an association of operators, is doing right now. I was also very impressed to know that there is a clear working relationship while an organization like that is also using the milestone approach that has been developed by the IAEA, showing that the cooperation in nuclear power is not only for those that are doing strategy or safety or whatever, but all people they are working as a team. After saying that, it's now my pleasure to introduce new speakers, because there are two. Mr. Joshua Bess, a manager with Sejan and Londi in US, and Mr. Stanislas Peko, who is a senior manager for SMR project development in the Slovakian company. Mr. Bess and Mr. Peko will present on the topic feasibility study for deployment of future SMR in IAEA member countries. Mr. Bess and Mr. Peko, you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. It's been a pleasure to be here. So I will be the first speaker. I'm Stanislav Pecko from Slovenské elektrárne as the representative of Slovakia, Slovak Republic. So we'll be talking, two of us. I will take part about the Slovakia, about what is our motivation and our need of the country, why we are looking for the SMR. So first of all, maybe not everyone of you are aware of Slovakia. It's quite small country, 5 million of people living 1 hour of drive from here, from Vienna, northeast. So we are a nuclear country. We've been a nuclear country for the last, I believe, 50 years. So we have established a nuclear industry very well, with a lot of people working on nuclear. And with 2 nuclear power plants in operation, with 5 units currently, and 1 is still in construction. That brings me here that we are currently producing more than 60% of electricity from nuclear. That's quite unique. We are a really nuclear country with a big share of nuclear. I believe it's second place in the world after France. So still we have a motivation to look for SMR. One of the biggest motivation for us is as many countries in Europe, we have some climate targets. By 2050 we want to be climate neutral. We want to get rid of all coal sources and greenhouse emission sources in the whole Europe. So also Slovakia as the country, we are, I think we are on a very good track currently with our energy mix. It is very clean. But there are some still priorities to decarbonize the industry. What we did in last year, we phased out 2 coal power plants. So it's quite also unique position that we really phased out all coal power plants in Slovakia within last year. One of Nováky coal power plant was shut down last year, and this year we shut down our last coal power plant in operation, Vojany, a couple of months ago. So point number one regarding decarbonization is done. We phase out coal power generation, but still we have a lot of challenges in Slovakia. That's why we are motivated to see the SMR as one of the interesting future things. We have industry, which is which needs to be decarbonized. We have big steel production power plant in eastern part of Slovakia. It's currently owned by US Steel. It's the big power plant that are using coal in furnaces to melt the steel, to melt the iron. So if this plant will decarbonize, they will need at least 400 megawatts of electricity. So there is nice business case for one SMR just for one steel production plant. And we have other businesses. A lot of chemistry plants, chemical plants, aluminum plant, and so on. Also heating. In Slovakia, most of the heating is done by combustion of gas. So we also see the opportunity to heating decarbonization and other things. There are challenges, of course, we see, but we see some opportunities from these challenges. And these challenges have consequences. We know that if you want to decarbonize the industry, the country needs, we will need to have more sources of electricity. So we know that in 30 years from now, we will need increase of maybe 50% of electricity demand, and we need stable sources. We have a lot of stable sources, but also the renewable sources are in increase in Slovakia, and more stable sources will be needed, for sure, for industry. And as we are a small country, quite small country with small grid, big sources are not the best option for Slovakia, I believe. So one solution we have in Slovenské elektrárne as the private company, only one solution we see is the SMR. So that's why we're looking for SMR. It's a big opportunity for us, not only for the company, also for the country. So that's why we started the feasibility study. We started last year about this time, and we have big 5 sections of this study we need to analyze. Of course, sites. We need to select site where we want to develop the SMR. So we have currently 5 sites under assessment in the study. I will say more which sites are these. And we selected 9 most promising technology of SMR that we are assessing under the study. Most of them are light water reactors, because they are most advanced in terms of licensing and readiness. But also we have one representative for high temperature reactor there, as well one representative for sodium fast reactor. Because we also want to see for the future maybe if these advanced reactors can have some benefits for Slovakia. Of course, licensing, one of the biggest challenges, I believe, for every country, because we used to license big nuclear power plants, but SMR has different challenges. As private company, it's about the money. So project economy is very important topic for us. We are preparing the really robust business case with the data from vendors. And last thing is project management, because it's very important how to build it, how to manage this kind of big project. Last slide, from my point of view, from Slovak point of view, we have these 5 sites. 2 sites are nuclear sites. They are current operating nuclear sites. Jaslovské, Bohunice, Mochovce. There are 5 units in operation. So it makes perfectly sense to put first SMR in nuclear site, because we know the site, we know everything around. There is emergency preparedness, everything in place. But as I said, we have 2 coal power plants that been phased out, shut down last year, Nováky and Vojany. And these sites are very nice. They have all infrastructure. They have cooling water availability. It's ready for another usage. There are some even cooling towers that can be upgraded for future purposes and so on. We have nice sites, and we want to analyze if these coal sites can be used for SMR. And last one is the US Steel Košice. That's the largest steel production plant. And if the US Steel will decarbonize, if they will change their coal furnaces to electric one, that will make perfectly sense for them to have one SMR. So these are 5 sites under assessment, and now I want to give floor my colleague from Sergeant Lundy, who is doing the feasibility study. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pecco. So you heard a lot about the what and the why we're doing this study, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the how. So first I want to say how we got matched. The U.S. Department of State FIRST program matched Sergeant Lundy through a competitive bid project to support the Slovak Republic in enabling this feasibility study. The FIRST program promotes the safe and secure deployment of small modular reactors throughout the world. So how did we want to address a feasibility study? We chose to utilize the IAEA guidance for feasibility studies. This is a preparation of feasibility studies for new nuclear power plants. There's 16 major topics that are covered in the feasibility study approach. Given our time together, we'll focus on two, those site assessments and technology assessments. To enable siting and technology assessments, we chose to use a multi-phase approach. Phase one was a screening approach where we looked at sites to identify if there were any sites that needed to be screened out of further assessment. Those are typically called fatal flaw evaluations or red flag evaluations. And again, that was to look for any attributes of that site which would be very difficult to overcome or and then enable the decision of the Slovaks to eliminate clearly unsuitable sites. The other part of this is screening of technologies. We developed a multi-step screening approach. You can see each of those questions that we asked ourselves to screen in different technologies to the studies. And we utilized both IAEA and NEA databases as the source of different technologies to screen into the study. So how we're envisioning the phase one screening results being presented is through a matrix. Thankfully, in this case, we have 5 sites, which is a manageable amount of sites to evaluate and also to represent in a singular matrix. So we are able to identify those key attributes of sites like availability of water, seismicity, flooding, natural and man-made hazards, and how different technologies on the market have been designed to mitigate those hazards and what demands they require of their sites, including cooling water. So as an example, here's how we will be matching those sites and those technologies from a risk-based perspective. We'll be identifying low, medium, and high-risk criteria and matching sites and technologies. In phase 2, this is basically the results of phase 1. Any of those sites that remain in the study, we'll do more detailed assessments. That would include a detailed assessment of both man-made and natural hazards, and identifying what are the must-haves based on safety and the want-to-haves based on the Slovak Republic's needs. We'll be developing weighting criteria, scoring criteria, and then doing detailed site assessments with Sergeant Lundy subject matter experts who will be scoring sites and enabling the Slovak Republic to identify the most suitable site. Similarly, for technology assessments, we will be doing the same process. We'll be identifying what are the critical criteria for technology assessments. We typically use a request for information process where we ask technology vendors to respond to on the order of 400 to 500 detailed questions about their technologies. And then we'll be assessing those technologies based on weighting criteria and scoring criteria, all in the end ranking different technologies based on the Slovak Republic's needs. So what are some of the key lessons learned? One, I'd say start early. Data is hard to mine, especially for coal sites or non-nuclear sites. Having a great stakeholders on both, focused stakeholders, I would say, on both sides has been critical to the success of the project thus far. The other thing is get in the field and visit those sites, especially for non-nuclear sites. The owners of those sites are proud of their sites, and they want to see how those sites can be reutilized, repurposed for small modular reactor deployments. Schedule adequate time for those administrative things like non-disclosure agreements. We all know how when we get lawyers involved, that may suddenly suck up weeks and months of time within projects. So I would say start early and stay focused. And lastly, the continuous stakeholder engagement. Understand who are those responsible decision makers and who needs to be informed within the project to make a success. Finally, in conclusion, I would recommend the use of standards and guides teamed with expertise, utilizing novel tools and a focused team, and you can reach successful feasibility study results. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pecco and Mr. Best, for that excellent presentation, for those insights into the what, the why, and the how of a feasibility study, and also thank you for sharing the lessons learned from that exercise. Now we will turn to our next speaker, who will be our last speaker for this session. And allow me to introduce Mr. Guillermo Cardoso, who will present on recent legislative proposals and the impact on SMR technologies development. So recent legislative proposals in the European Union and the impact on SMR technologies development. Mr. Cardoso is Nuclear Technology Advisor for Nuclear Europe, the trade association of the nuclear energy industry in Europe. Mr. Cardoso, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. So, like said, my name is Guillermo Cardoso. I'm a nuclear technology advisor. I'm a nuclear engineer, and I've been working for Nuclear Europe for the last 3 years. So we are the trade association, an industrial trade association for the nuclear sector in Europe. Our members are, I won't say all, but almost all of the nuclear companies in the nuclear sector in the EU, but also the UK, Switzerland, and Ukraine. In the last few years, so in the last, let's say, 4 years, nuclear has started to regain its visibility on the EU level, especially in Brussels, and this was driven by mainly two things. First, the approaching of the climate targets deadlines. So the first deadline would be in 2030, and people have started to realize that maybe the 100% renewables solution is not going to take us there. It certainly hasn't taken us there on the electricity sector, much less on the whole energy sector, if we count industry and transport and etc. It's starting to seem, this 100% renewables is starting to seem bleak. And then, of course, the energy crisis triggered by the war in Ukraine in 2022. So there are a few legislative proposals and initiatives that I would like to talk to you about today. The first one is an initiative, so the European Industrial Alliance on SMRs, the EU Taxonomy, the Net Zero Industry Act, the Low Carbon Hydrogen Delegated Act, and finally, I will mention the report done by Mario Draghi on the future of European competitiveness. Starting with the European Industrial Alliance on SMR, so the main objective for this alliance is to facilitate and accelerate the development, demonstration and deployment of the first SMR projects in Europe, hopefully in the early 2030s, by assisting these projects to reach demonstrations and deployment phases. So in essence, this is a framework for collaboration between industry, research organizations, and policymakers. And this is under the umbrella of the European Commission. You can apply if you want. There are a few. I don't know if this presentation will be distributed, but there are a few links of interest here on this slide. And well, of course, you need to be a European company, or at least have a legal entity in the European Union. We have a few foreign companies that do have a legal entity in the European Union, and they can participate without limits. A few numbers on this alliance. So first, you have the map of Europe. You can see almost every European country has a few companies that are members of the alliance, companies or NGOs, research centers, like I said. At the moment, we have 323 members, and on the top right, you can see the distribution of the members by the type of companies. We have project developers, utilities, vendors, financial institutions as well, etc. Five technologies and 25 different designs. And this blue circle, you cannot see it, but this is the distribution of the size of the companies by number of employees, so you can see it's quite well distributed. This is a timeline of the alliance activities. So it started on the 6th of February. It was officially launched by the European Commission. Soon after started the first call for membership and for projects. Then in the end of May, the technical working groups were defined. There are 8. They go from industrial applications, supply chain, safety, fuel cycle, etc. And these working groups are meeting. I've been meeting in the last few weeks, and are working together to elaborate a strategic action plan of the whole alliance that will be presented in the first quarter of next year. Also for the last quarter of this year, so as soon, there should be released some technology roadmaps for each of the 5 technologies that the alliance is working on. The first batch of project working groups under the alliance, so different thing from the technical working groups, have been announced, and you have the list here. I'm not going to repeat them, but these projects can be anything from the deployment of a prototype, the deployment of an actual SMR, to some research projects. For example, if we have two companies that are working with, let's say, thorium, for example, and they want to do a specific study on thorium, on the fuel cycle, for example, they can apply both of them together and then get the support from the alliance and also from the technical working groups that I mentioned earlier. Okay, that was it for the alliance. The next topic is the EU taxonomy. So what is the taxonomy? It's a set of rules, in essence, and criteria to define what is sustainable investment. So the goal is to direct investments towards sustainable projects and activities. And this is good for the projects themselves, because they can advertise themselves as sustainable, and also for the, let's say, financial institutions to have an idea of what they are investing in is sustainable. It's important to nuclear because, first of all, it gives access to finance. It may influence future policy, because policymakers can refer to the taxonomy to say that nuclear is sustainable. And then it's good because it sends a clear message that the science is clear, that nuclear is low carbon and sustainable. How this works, I won't spend much time on this. So the European Commission had a technical expert group to gather a list of technologies. Then the JRC of the Commission did an assessment with some other groups inside the Commission, and then it was found that indeed the analysis did not reveal any science-based evidence that nuclear energy does more harm to human health or to the environment than other electricity production technologies. So nuclear is indeed taxonomy compliant and is part of this legislative package, let's say. What is not in the taxonomy is the nuclear fuel cycle. Is not considered as an enabling technology, so we hope that in the future the European Commission will consider its inclusion, especially given the request from the Commission to the European nuclear industry that we reduce our dependence on Russian nuclear fuels. So again, to encourage investment, it would be good if the nuclear fuel cycle is in the taxonomy. Third topic is the Net Zero Industry Act. So this is a legislative package that has the objective of enhancing EU manufacturing capacity for net zero technologies, including SMR. So it's written there as in the act as nuclear, but of course SMRs are included. They have been recognized as strategic for Europe's green transition, and this will provide regulatory and financial support to spur innovation and investment in the manufacturing cycle of SMRs. This is a time when I'm not going to focus on everything here, just so yeah. So the strategic project application process has begun in July. I will talk a bit more about that in the next slide. But then there are these three extra acts that will be listing the components that will receive this support. So the components of nuclear facilities that will receive this support. So the first one is the primarily used, so components that are only used in the nuclear industry and nowhere else, so like for example control rods. And then the second one is components that are critical in the power plant, but can be used in other industries, for example. And we are right now in talks with the European Commission to see what are the components that should be listed here. It's not very simple because they are very much used to deal with the renewable industry, and of course a nuclear power plant is a bit more complex than a solar panel or a wind turbine. So it's a work in progress to have this list published. For the strategic projects, so if you have a project, you can apply to be a net zero strategic project, and the applications will be assessed by the member states, and they will benefit from some priority status like faster permitting and other benefits. And of course, this will, like the taxonomy, open doors to regulatory support and financing. Okay, the next topic is the Low Carbon Hydrogen Delegated Act. So, if you follow European Union policy around energy, you will know that hydrogen it's a very hot topic. And everyone seems to think that it can play a crucial role in EU decarbonization strategy. SMRs, of course, have a huge role to play in producing hydrogen, both hydrogen to inject into some hydrogen grid, or to feed directly into heavy industries and intensive users. This act is setting a methodology to assess the greenhouse gas emissions for low carbon hydrogen production, including nuclear-based hydrogen and others such as the CCS, CCU. The delegated act is in the process of public consultation at the moment. If you want, you can go to the European Commission website and leave your thoughts on the delegated act. These are the main thoughts that Nuclear Europe thinks are important. So first of all, to have an accurate emission factor for nuclear electricity, so that's obvious, based on life cycle assessments. Inclusion of PPAs is very important to have certainty for both the producers of nuclear electricity, nuclear energy, and hydrogen. To be able to have a project-based approach to emissions measurement, and finally to have the liberty to use any electricity from grid connection to direct connections to electrolyzers. I know this sounds very obvious, but it's not as simple as that to have it written in a EU legislative package. My final topic here is the competitiveness report done by Mario Draghi. So The aim of this report is to provide strategic recommendations to enhance the EU's economic resilience and global standing, focusing on investment, innovation and regulatory reforms. And the main takeaways are very clear. We need all energy we can get, low carbon, of course. So this means renewables and nuclears, a massive deployment of renewables and nuclears. The EU should decouple as soon as possible the remuneration of renewable energy and nuclear from fossil fuel generations by building tools that have been already introduced in the new electricity market design, such as PPAs, like I mentioned, for the hydrogen, and two-way contracts for difference are, let's say, the two most useful tools to achieve this competitiveness. Again, technology neutral approach. What we want is to decarbonize. We don't really care what is the technology that should be using. And priority to make renewables and nuclear regularly price setting in the electricity market, and makes investments in grid storage and flexibility. Again, all solutions should be leveraged by adopting a technology-neutral approach and a cost-efficient system. So, in conclusion, despite some challenges from some I wouldn't say anti-nuclear, but not very kind to nuclear member states, the European legislative landscape has evolved to create a somewhat supportive environment for SMR deployment. EU taxonomy, Net Zero Industry Act, and the Low Carbon Hydrogen Delegated Act can provide a solid foundation for the development of these technologies. And finally, of course, SMRs are uniquely positioned to play a pivotal role in the transition, because they are very adaptable to not only for the electricity grid but also for industrial sector, and who knows, transport soon. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cardoso, for that very interesting presentation. How to create a supportive environment for SMR deployment. This is a key question for policymakers that are interested in promoting those initiatives, and those legislative instruments in the European Union provide a good example of how this could be achieved. So thank you for that presentation. We have now come to the end of the first part of our session. So we will now move to the question and answer session. So may I kindly invite all our presenters to join us on the podium. So we will move on with the session, so please, we encourage you to participate actively, and please don't forget to state your name and affiliation when you are posing your question. So do we have any questions at this stage? I see one there, the gentleman in the back. Here first. Yes, Jose.
Thank you very much. My name is José Bastos, and now I'm a private consultant. I have a question to Mr. Kim from WANO. My question is the following. In this new world of SMRs, we see several organizations which are not familiar with nuclear safety or at least not familiar with operational safety, that if their projects evolve, will become operators. So my question to WANO, in fact, is, has WANO any program to help these organizations to develop the processes, procedures, safety culture, and other elements which are necessary for becoming a nuclear operator? And I'm referring to two types of organizations. There are operators of conventional plants that may become operators of a nuclear facility, or we see also designers that have in their business models now the intention not only to design but also to construct and operate. So we will see two sets of organizations that if their projects evolve, will become operators, but they don't have necessarily the knowledge on operational safety.
Thank you very much for an excellent question. And at the moment, actually, as WANO, we are considering having a unique approach to provide WANO members collective operating experience and operating guidelines for our, especially for now, new entrants. So we are thinking about having like WANO global nuclear community-like organization or approach or program, I would say, program, so that we can provide the fundamentals of nuclear power plant operators, the roles and responsibilities, especially around instilling the every aspects of nuclear safety culture and the roadmap to operational readiness and SOER recommendations. So that is one of the approaches that we are currently thinking about. And another one is we also recognize just like many other SML developers, the instilling nuclear safety culture in this organization is also very important, especially during the design stage. So we just started internally the discussion around having WANO supplier participants program. So this is kind of benchmarking IMPO supplier participants program, where our designers, developers join WANO membership and can access to the operating experience database and all the operating guidelines, and as well as having hot topics that we encounter in operating power plant experience and also deployment of new units experience. So that's what we are thinking at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kim. I believe we had another question from the gentleman in the back. Yes.
Thank you. Ross Peel here, King's College London in the United Kingdom. I wanted to ask about the process used by the Sargent and Lundy feasibility study. The guidance you use from the IAEA on feasibility studies is something that's relatively new to me, but I wanted to ask about whether you used the reference has just gone off my screen, of course, the IAEA's Nuclear Reactor Technology Assessment for Near-Term Deployment Guidance, and if you used that methodology or something different, and what was the rationale for that, please?
Yes, great question. We did use that guidance. We also leveraged some EPRI guidance, which is also consistent with technology assessments, and blended some of the best practices based on SNL's experience between both methodologies to enable the technology surveys as well as the detailed technology assessment phases.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, please.
Sarah Eaton from the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission. Very interesting presentations. Thank you very much. My question is about the FIRST program. So acknowledging, the leadership of the U.S. with the FIRST program, can you give us a description of how you prioritize your projects and the projects that you fund?
the question is for Mr. Constantine? Yes.
Yes. The situation in Romania is more complex than I presented because at the moment the investment are not presented here. The first priority for us is the refurbishment of Unit 1. That means a lot of money, around 1.5 billion euro, and this will start in 2026 for 2 years. The second priority is the finalization of the two CANDU units in Romania that are in a very delayed construction. And we expect that we have now the financial arrangement to finish somewhere in 2035 this process. These are practically governmental money. For the case of integral PWR, it was an arrangement, international arrangement, practically with the vendor, with the developer to help Romania to have this loan line and to inject the money to be ready in 2031. This is in terms of the money. And the last project, LFR-SMR, is practically supported by public funding at the European level. There are different lines of funding, and at the moment, as I said, the first priority is the refurbishment because it depends a lot the stability of the grid from this situation, and after that, probably the second priority will be LFR-SMR to demonstrate this is possible, this project is viable, is realistic. But we'll see, we have some uncertainties as always, and we'll see how the project are evolving in the next 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Constantine. Any more questions? We still have some time for questions. Is there?
I have another, sorry, I think I really appreciated the answer from Mr. Constantine. I was actually asking about the first program, so the US's first program. And the case study from Slovakia was interesting on how you were able to support that feasibility study. And I was just wondering how, within the first program, how you prioritize what projects sort of move forward in the line.
So the question is for Mr. Best?
Yeah, sorry, I can't remember anybody's name.
Yeah, so none of us here are representing the U.S. government. We are just implementers that were teamed as part of this program. I'd recommend you ask that question to the local U.S. Embassy staff in order to get a more complete answer.
Thank you. Do we have other questions? Yes. In the meantime, as we still have some time, I have a question for Mr. Cardoso. You mentioned that the Industrial Alliance is working on technology roadmaps, various technology roadmaps. Could you tell us a little bit more about it, about the content and what is the idea and when they would be ready?
Yes. So I'm not personally involved in this, but like I said, there are 5 technologies among the let's say the designs in the members of the alliance, and the idea here is that the groups will work on see what is the state of the art for each technology, and to try to, let's say, set some deadlines or some goals in the next few years to have each technology on the right place. Yeah.
Thank you. I will. If there are no questions from the audience, I will pass now to my co-chair, to Vincent. Perhaps you have any questions, or if not, then we will proceed with some concluding remarks.
Thank you very much, Fanny. I think that if we have been able to go so fast. That means that certainly the presentation were excellent. In that case, then maybe I would like to invite you to give a small round of applause for all those excellent presentations. Thank you very much. Yes, as you can know, each of these presentations has provided us with really invaluable insight, contributing significantly to our understanding of the opportunities and challenges going along the development and the deployment of SMR. I will try to make a small synthesis of what has been done, and maybe if I'm not complete, maybe you can add some few words on that, Fanny. Yes, we began with the presentation of Dr. Constantine, who make really a detailed overview of the ambitious Romanian SMR implementation program. His presentation highlighted the complexity involved from regulatory consideration to infrastructure challenges, reminding us on the vital step required to ensure that SMR can be integrated into a national energy mix in a safe, secure, and efficient manner. We then turn our attention with the critical role of the World Association of Nuclear Operators. We were able to see the number of countries that are participating in this association. We was also be able to learn the WANO's mission to ensure nuclear safety worldwide. That is underscored by the assertion that a nuclear accident anywhere is a nuclear accident everywhere. Their proactive member interaction cycle demonstrates WANO's unwavering commitment to fostering global safety standards, which will undoubtedly be instrumental in the widespread deployment of SMR. Following that, we'll hear about the feasibility study conducted in Slovakia, where the suitability of various sites for SMR deployment was rigorously assessed. Although SMR are compact and modular, site selection still remains a critical factor, and today's presentation underscores that careful attention to siting is an important important for SMR and is as it's for traditional large-scale nuclear power plant. Finally, we were able to conclude with a presentation on the European Union's effort to accelerate SMR deployment, particularly the establishment of the European Industrial Alliance on SMR. This alliance, launched in May 2024, brings together policymakers, industrial leaders, research organizations, and utilities to address market analysis, supply chain, regulatory framework, financing, etc. Essential factor in fast-tracking SMR deployment in Europe. This is an encouraging development, signaling a strong commitment from the European Union to incorporate SMR into its energy strategy. As we reflect on this discussion, it is clear that we are in a pivotal moment for nuclear energy. All of you are aware about the recent COP28 summit that made history for recognizing nuclear energy as a key solution to combat climate change. That milestone that would have not been possible without a steadfast advocacy of the IAEA and its Director General. We are reminded that nuclear power contributes significantly to reducing carbon emissions and providing half of the world carbon-free electricity. The global perspective of nuclear energy is then shifting, and the recognition of SMR as a scalable, cost-effective option for both development and developing countries is an important part of this change. This session, which was built on the earlier discussion on SMR technology, 3S, emergency, and other technical topics, was really critical in addressing the practical steps required for SMR development and deployment. I sincerely hope that you find the discussion as enriching as we did. Before we close, we would like to extend our thanks to all the speakers for their excellent contribution and to all of you for your active and participation and kind attention. We then bring my colleague and myself this session to a close. We encourage you to attend the upcoming session as well as to participate in the forthcoming poster presentation. Your continued engagement will ensure that this important conversation extends beyond this room and translate into actionable outcomes. Thank you once again, and we look forward to seeing you in the next session. Thank you very much.
Don't touch came to reason, too grown up to dream. Now spring is turning your face to mine. I can hear you, lover, I can see you smile. Na 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 na, na 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 na. Slave to love. No, I can't escape. I'm a slave to love. Na 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 na, na 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 na. Slave to love. No, I can't escape. I'm a slave to love.
Walking on a Chinese, walking on a Chinese wall. Watching for the coins to, watching for the coins to fall. Butterfly, spread your painting wings from an answer from the sheen. By the stream, stretching in the rocks, a tiger on a mountain top, walking on the Chinese wall. Watching for the coins to fall. And now the sun is rising in the looking for my golden fleece. Ivory skin, scarlet color, is the bird but do not speak. The 3 misty nights waiting by the shore, and maybe that my lover comes no more. Rich and the dream from the sky above, Asian tales of hidden Chinese love on the Chinese wall. Watching for the coins to fall. A blue red silk burning on my chest. Go to sleep but not to rest. Stepping stones on the yellow sea, a dreaming she will be there for me. Come down the clouds to the sea flames, from the mountain hear the cry of pain. Rich and the dream from the sky above, Asian tales of hate and Chinese love. Chinese world. Watching for the coins to fall. The powers you arranged and said they were strange. They speak to me like constellations, eyes will I hear. There's a magic I can't hold. your smile of honey gold, and that you never seem to be in short supply of you. So baby, let's get it on, drinking wine and killing time, sitting in the summer sun. You know I wanted you for long. Why'd you have to drop that bomb on me? Lazy days, crazy dog. You say we've been friends too long. 7 days in sunny June were long enough to bloom the flowers on the summer trees you wore this spring. The way we left this one, and then you dropped the ball that I know you too long for us to have a say. You, so baby, let's get it on, drinking wine and killing time, sitting in the summer sun. You know I wanted you so long. Why you have to drop that bomb on me? Could it be this? The stories in your eyes turn off sullen wings, you fly away on. 7 days in sunny June, long enough to bloom the flowers on the summer's dress you wore this spring. Yeah, yeah. The way we left this one. Why did you drop the bomb on me? So baby, let's get it on, drinking wine and killing time, sitting in the summer sun. You know I wanted you so long. Why you have to drop that bomb? Could it be this? The honey stuck ablaze and you seem to show me. Could it be this? For 7 days in June it wasn't lonely. Could it be this? You never give me time to say I love you. Could it be this? I know you don't believe me, but it's so true. Don't walk away from me, girl. I read the stories in your eyes. Don't you walk away from me. Yeah, yeah. I read the stories in your eyes, and you've been telling me we were friends for too long. Yeah, I think I love you.
When you close your eyes and you go to sleep, and it's down to the sound of a heartbeat. I can hear the things that you're dreaming about. When you open up your heart and the truth comes out, you tell me that you want me. You tell me that you need me. You tell me that you love me. And I know that I'm right, 'cause I hear it in the night. I hear the secrets that you keep. When you're talking in your sleep, I hear the secrets that you keep. When you're talking in your sleep, when you hold you in my arms at night, don't you know you're sleeping in a spotlight? And all your dreams that you keep inside, you're telling me the secrets that you just can't hide. You tell me that you want me. You tell me that you need me. You tell me that you love me. And I know that I'm right, 'cause I hear it in the night. I hear the secrets that you keep. When you're talking in your sleep, I hear the secrets that you keep. When you're talking in your sleep, I hear the secrets that you keep. When you're talking in your sleep, I hear the secrets that you keep. When you're talking in your sleep, when you close your eyes and you fall asleep, everything about you is a mystery. You tell me that you want me. You tell me that you need me. You tell me that you love me. And I know that I'm right, 'cause I hear it in the night. I hear the secrets that you keep. When you're talking in your sleep, I hear the secrets that you keep. When you're talking in your sleep, I hear the secrets that you keep. When you're talking in your sleep, I hear the secrets that you keep. When you're talking in your sleep.
Golden, golden, golden as I open my eyes. Hold it, focus, hoping, take me back to the light. I know you were way too bright for me. I'm hopeless, broken, so you wait for me in the sky. Browns my skin just right. You're so golden. You're so golden. I'm out of my head, and I know that you're scared, because hearts get broken. I don't wanna be alone. I don't wanna be alone. When it ends, don't wanna let you know that I don't wanna be alone. But I can feel it take a hold. I can feel you take control of who I am and all I've ever known. Loving you's the antidote, golden. You're so golden. I don't wanna be alone. You're so golden. You're so golden. You're so golden. And I'm out of my head, and I know that you're scared, because hearts get broken. I know that you're scared, because I'm so open. You're so golden. I don't wanna be alone. You're so golden. You're so golden. You're so golden. And I'm out of my head, and I know that you're scared, because hearts get broken.
You know I need your love. You got a hold on me. Long as I got your love, you know that I'll never leave. When I wanted you to share my life, I had no doubt in my mind. And it's been you, woman, right down the line. I know how much I lean on you. Only you can see. Changes that